The story begins in a village in North Korea. A schoolgirl is shown walking home alone from school along a deserted road. At the same time, a car is driving down the same road. Inside the vehicle are three young men. The two boys sitting in the front are drinking alcohol and having fun while driving. However, the boy sitting in the back is much quieter in nature. He is listening to music through headphones while reading a book. This boy's name is Kim. Suddenly, the two boys in the front notice the girl on the road and immediately stop the car in front of her. The girl becomes frightened. Before she can understand what is happening, the boys forcibly drag her into the vehicle and drive away. What follows is a series of horrific acts of abuse. Kim's friends repeatedly assault the girl. They inflict countless injuries across her body. They beat her, burn her skin with cigarette butts, and even injure her private parts. These human monsters do not stop there. They pour alcohol over her body and begin taking numerous photographs of her. While this cruel torture is taking place, Kim sits silently in the corner of the room, watching and enjoying everything. Eventually, Kim approaches the girl. Calmly, he strokes her forehead and head. Then he takes a thin wire and wraps it around her neck, strangling her to death in a brutal manner. As the girl lets out her final screams, a sinister smile appears on Kim's face, making it clear that he is far from an ordinary person. The story then introduces a North Korean police officer named Dae-ri. He arrives at a house to investigate a crime scene where an entire family has been brutally murdered. The family turns out to be the family of the murdered girl. Her parents, brother, and even a young child have all been killed. This reveals that Kim did not only murder the girl. He and his gang also massacred her entire family in an extremely cruel manner. Officer Dae-ri gathers evidence connecting Kim to all of these murders and brings the case to his superior officer. It is revealed that Kim has committed many similar crimes in the past, brutally assaulting and murdering numerous young women. Dae-ri is determined not to let Kim escape this time. However, despite the overwhelming evidence, the superior officer orders the case to be closed. Although Dae-ri becomes angry, he is not surprised. Kim is not an ordinary young man. He is the son of a very high-ranking North Korean official. His family possesses enormous power within the country. Because of this influence, Kim has been able to roam freely despite being responsible for multiple serial murders. The superior officer not only orders the case to be closed but also suspends Dae-ri and his entire team for investigating Kim. They are transferred to work at a fertilizer farm. 3 years later, the story moves to Seoul, South Korea. For several months, a series of serial killings has been terrorizing the city. The bodies of multiple women are being discovered. One murder follows another, yet the police have no leads regarding the killer's identity. As a result, media pressure and departmental pressure on the investigative team continue to increase. The pressure becomes so overwhelming that the chief investigator eventually takes his own life. The case is then assigned to an officer named Chae I Do. Chae I Do is not an ordinary police officer. His methods of investigation are completely different from those of other detectives. His boss tells him to follow proper procedures, but Chae I Do insists that if they truly want to catch the killer, he must be allowed to handle the case in his own way. With no alternatives left, his boss agrees. Chae I Do begins reviewing every file related to the case. Among the documents, he finds several letters from citizens who have provided tips about the killer. He studies all of the information carefully. Soon afterward, another woman's naked body is discovered in a deserted area outside the city. Her body is covered with numerous injuries. She has been murdered in exactly the same manner as the previous victims. Evidence shows that she suffered severe torture before her death and was assaulted. The autopsy reveals that she was strangled. This time, however, the police discover an important clue. An eggplant is found inside the victim's private area during the post-mortem examination. The object contains DNA evidence, giving the police their first solid lead against the killer. Now all they need to do is identify the owner of that DNA. Chae I Do orders his team to compare the DNA against every criminal and suspicious individual in the city. He also provides a list of additional names taken from the anonymous tip letters. Meanwhile, two officers from South Korea's National Intelligence Service (NIS) are shown watching news reports about the serial killings. The officers are Park and his superior. Their conversation makes it clear that they know exactly who is responsible for the murders. A shocking secret is then revealed. About 2 years earlier, Park's superior had made a deal with the CIA. According to the agreement, a North Korean VIP and 2 associates were secretly brought into South Korea. Their objective was to protect the VIP and gather valuable intelligence from him. Park himself was responsible for bringing this VIP into the country. Therefore, if the VIP were exposed as a serial killer or arrested by the police, both Park and his superior would face devastating consequences. Furthermore, the entire nation's security system would come under scrutiny. For that reason, Park's boss orders him to secure the VIP before the police can arrest him. The police have already found a DNA match, and the DNA belongs to the North Korean VIP. Park immediately mobilizes his agents to capture him. The VIP is revealed to be none other than Kim. Just as he did in North Korea, Kim has continued torturing and murdering women after arriving in South Korea. As Agent Park prepares to arrest Kim, Officer Chae I Do arrives with a warrant. Having no choice, Park is forced to hand Kim over to the police. Chae I Do arrests Kim and takes him into custody. Park contacts his superior and informs him that they failed to secure Kim because the police arrived first and arrested him. Now they must prevent information about Kim from reaching the media before the situation spirals out of control. At that moment, another agent informs Park that Kim's 2 associates are still missing. Park orders all of his agents to find them immediately. Elsewhere, Kim's two companions are shown being tortured by an unknown individual. The torture mirrors the same brutality they once inflicted upon their victims. Their bodies are covered in wounds and injuries. After prolonged torture, the mysterious man kills one of them. The surviving accomplice desperately begs for his life. Meanwhile, Kim sits inside an interrogation room with his lawyer. The lawyer presents evidence and alibis claiming that Kim was not even in the city when the latest victim was murdered. According to the lawyer, Kim was away on a trip. Chae I Do smiles and responds, if Kim was really out of town, then how did his DNA end up inside the victim? Kim calmly explains that he has a hobby of weekend farming. On his farm, he grows vegetables including eggplants and cucumbers. He says that he often gives these vegetables to friends and neighbors. Therefore, even if his DNA is found on an eggplant, he has no idea how that eggplant ended up inside the victim. The lawyer supports Kim's statement by presenting photographs of the vegetable farm and demands his immediate release. Chae I Do notices Kim smiling confidently. He responds, keep that smile on your face, Kim. Very soon your game will be over. I only mentioned DNA. I never mentioned an eggplant. With that, Chae I Do leaves the room. He immediately orders his officers to verify every one of Kim's alibis and determine whether he truly traveled outside the city. He also instructs them to collect every available CCTV recording from across the city. The police begin gathering countless hours of footage and start reviewing them one by one. Unbeknownst to them, Agent Park is monitoring all of these activities through the police station's surveillance system. As the officers continue examining the recordings, they eventually discover Kim appearing in several CCTV clips. The footage proves that Kim never left the city during the time of the murder. His alibi is completely false. Meanwhile, the mysterious vigilante does not kill the remaining accomplice. Instead, he releases him for reasons that remain unknown. As soon as the NIS learns about this development, its agents quickly capture the survivor. At the same time, Chae I Do returns to confront Kim with the CCTV evidence. He informs him that the footage clearly shows he was in Seoul on the day of the murder and never went on any trip. His alibi has been completely exposed as a lie. At this point, there seems to be no way left for Kim to escape the case. Neither Kim nor his lawyer can find another solution. Meanwhile, the head of the NIS learns everything about Park and his superior. The NIS begins interrogating Park's boss. The NIS director asks Park why they made a deal with the CIA without proper approval. He points out that the United States has never handed over a VIP like Kim to South Korea before. Why would they do it this time? Did nobody stop to think about that? The director criticizes them for failing to investigate Kim properly. The CIA already knew Kim's true nature. That is exactly why they handed over such a dangerous asset. Since Park carried out all of these operations under his superior's orders, he is now the one who must clean up the mess. Park then visits Chae I Do's superior and attempts to negotiate a deal. However, the police chief initially refuses to release Kim. 7 women have been murdered, and both the media and the public are demanding justice. Park offers another solution. He promises to provide them with the killer and all the evidence necessary to close the case. The chief realizes how important Kim must be if NIS agents are willing to go this far to protect him. Since Park promises a complete solution, the chief reluctantly agrees. The very next day, NIS agents hand over Kim's surviving accomplice to the police, presenting him as the serial killer. They then demand that Kim be released. Chae I Do immediately goes to his boss, who hands him a file containing what appears to be all the evidence against the supposed killer. DNA reports have also been arranged to match the accomplice. Chae I Do instantly realizes that his boss has become involved in the political cover-up. Unfortunately, he has no choice but to obey orders. Frustrated, he returns home. Upon entering his house, he discovers a stranger waiting inside. The stranger is revealed to be Dae-ri, the North Korean police officer. Dae-ri is also the mysterious man who kidnapped and tortured Kim's 2 accomplices. Dae-ri introduces himself and begins explaining everything Kim did in North Korea. He describes how Kim assaulted and murdered numerous girls. Dae-ri explains that he was suspended for investigating Kim. Not only that, but 2 members of his team were captured by Kim's people and had their throats slit. Dae-ri himself was shot but somehow managed to survive. He escaped North Korea and came to South Korea for one purpose only, to capture Kim. Chae I Do asks what has changed. If Kim is taken back to North Korea, why would he finally be punished? Dae-ri explains that shortly before the CIA transferred Kim to South Korea, Kim's father and several associates attempted a counter-revolution against the government. Because of this crime, Kim's father was imprisoned, and Kim himself became a wanted man who could be executed at any time. Before going to prison, Kim's father arranged for him to be smuggled out of the country. As a result, if Kim is returned to North Korea now, he will definitely be punished. Dae-ri warns Chae I Do that Kim will never receive justice in South Korea because both the CIA and the NIS will do everything possible to protect him. At that exact moment, Chae I Do receives a call informing him that Kim is about to be released. He rushes to the police station. Knowing full well that Kim is the real killer, Chae I Do desperately tries to stop the release. Kim, however, deliberately provokes him. He begins describing how satisfying it is to hear victims scream in agony as they die. He says the pleasure becomes even greater when the screams come from young girls. Hearing these horrifying statements, Chae I Do loses control and attacks Kim. Other officers attempt to restrain him, but he refuses to stop. The media captures the entire incident. The next day, news reports spread across various websites, and as a result, Chae I Do is suspended from duty. Meanwhile, the NIS finally takes Kim into custody. Even there, Kim refuses to behave. He attacks a female agent assigned to monitor him. When Agent Park sees the woman's condition, he becomes furious and brutally beats Kim. Kim simply laughs and says he was only having a little fun with her. He points out that he did not kill her like the others. His lack of humanity enrages Park even more. At that moment, CIA agent Paul arrives with his team. Paul is the man who originally arranged for Kim to be placed under NIS protection 2 years earlier. The reason is finally revealed. Kim's father managed several Chinese bank accounts containing enormous sums of money and highly sensitive information. The CIA has been pursuing these accounts for years. The only person who knows the details is Kim. That is why the CIA has protected him despite all his crimes. Kim has always remained calm because he knows both the CIA and NIS need him alive. Kim tells Paul that he is willing to provide the information, but only if he is taken to America first. Paul agrees. He then criticizes Park and the NIS for failing to obtain any useful information from Kim during the last 2 years. It is revealed that before Kim was handed over to South Korea, the CIA had kept him in Hong Kong. Even while living there, Kim continued murdering women. The CIA knew this very well. That is why they never brought him to the United States. If Kim committed such crimes on American soil, he would never escape punishment, and the CIA would lose access to the information they wanted. Meanwhile, Dae-ri contacts Chae I Do and tells him about Kim's crimes in Hong Kong. He reveals that Kim murdered 2 women there, one of whom was South Korean. Kim and his accomplices filmed the torture and murders and later sold the videos on the black market for large amounts of money. Most importantly, one of those videos clearly shows Kim. With such evidence, no one would be able to rescue him from prosecution. Chae I Do immediately orders his team to make as many copies of the video as possible. He also contacts a prosecutor friend and requests an arrest warrant. Armed with the warrant and the video, he heads straight for Kim. In front of CIA and NIS agents, Chae I Do plays the footage on a large television screen and announces that he is there to arrest Kim. Then he tells Kim that he finally understands why he inserted objects into his victims. According to Chae I Do, Kim is impotent and unable to perform sexually himself. This revelation strikes a nerve. The story confirms that Kim forced his accomplices to assault women while he watched. Afterward, he would torture and murder the victims using various objects. For the first time, Kim loses his composure. Seeing his deepest secret exposed in front of everyone, he attacks Chae I Do. The police immediately arrest him once again. Afterward, Agent Paul asks Park where Chae I Do has been obtaining all of his information. Paul then shows him a photograph of Dae-ri, revealing that the North Korean officer has been operating inside Seoul all along. However, even after Kim is brought to the police station, neither the CIA nor the NIS is allowed access to him. Soon afterward, Chae I Do receives another call from his superior. This time, not only he but his entire team has been suspended. Furious, Chae I Do can no longer contain his anger. He takes Kim into a vehicle and leaves on his own. He contacts his prosecutor friend and says he is bringing Kim directly to his office. Unfortunately, the prosecutor also backs away. Pressure from higher authorities has forced him to abandon the case. With every possible path blocked, Chae I Do is left with no choice but to hand Kim over to the CIA. As CIA and NIS agents arrive, Park tells him that Dae-ri has been feeding information to the police from the very beginning. Every tip the police received originated from Dae-ri. However, Park claims that Dae-ri is not pursuing justice. He explains that Dae-ri is a fugitive from North Korea. The only way for him to return home safely is by bringing Kim back with him. According to Park, Dae-ri wants Kim not for justice but for his own survival. Park argues that Chae I Do has done his duty as a police officer. The best option now is to hand Kim over to the CIA so that at least South Korean women will be safe from him. Chae I Do then asks a simple question. Don't women exist in America too? Park quietly replies that it will become America's problem. Having no alternatives left, Chae I Do hands Kim over. Suddenly, Kim grabs a CIA agent's weapon and shoots Chae I Do multiple times. Afterward, he calmly surrenders while laughing. The CIA quickly rushes him into a vehicle and drives away. Park can no longer tolerate what has happened. He decides to pursue them. At the same time, Dae-ri crashes his vehicle into Kim's convoy. He captures Kim, drags him outside, and forces him into his own vehicle. Park watches the entire scene. He could have stopped them, but he chooses not to. He believes that if Dae-ri succeeds in taking Kim back to North Korea, Kim will finally face justice. Dae-ri sets sail toward North Korea with Kim. However, Park soon receives shocking news. Kim's father has regained power in North Korea. This means that Dae-ri will not be able to punish Kim at all. In fact, Dae-ri may be the one whose life is now in danger. Meanwhile, Dae-ri releases photographs of all the victims into the sea. He does not care about the political situation. Suddenly, Kim appears with a gun. Before Dae-ri can react, Kim shoots and kills him. At the same time, Park is punished for his actions and transferred out of headquarters to field duty overseas. Before leaving, he visits Chae I Do. Despite surviving multiple gunshot wounds, Chae I Do remains in a coma, fighting for his life. Years pass. Park continues working in various countries. One day, he arrives in Hong Kong after receiving a call from CIA agent Paul. Paul gives him a mission. A heavily guarded individual must be extracted from a nearby building. Paul even provides him with a pistol. Park enters the building, eliminates the guards, and makes his way inside. To his surprise, the person he is supposed to rescue is Kim. Kim is happy to see him. He assumes that Park will never harm him because the CIA still needs him alive. This time, however, Kim is wrong. Without saying a word, Park shoots him in the leg. Kim screams in shock. He reminds Park how important he is. Park responds by shooting his other leg. As Kim writhes in pain, he begs to speak with Paul. Park ignores him and shoots him again in the shoulder. Now terrified, Kim begins offering money. He promises Park anything he wants if he will simply let him go. Park finally responds, "There is only one thing I want." Kim becomes hopeful and asks what it is. Park answers, "I want your death." He places the barrel of his gun against Kim's face and pulls the trigger. The monster is finally killed. Afterward, Park leaves the hotel carrying a bag and meets Paul. He hands over the bag. When Paul opens it, he is shocked to discover Kim's severed head inside. Furious, Paul asks Park if he realizes what he has done. Park reminds him that he once called them fools. He explains that Kim spent years manipulating the entire American intelligence system. Kim never possessed the valuable information they were chasing, or if he ever did, China would never have allowed it to remain accessible. The money and documents had already been removed from the accounts long ago. Kim simply used the promise of information to guarantee his own protection for years. Park tells Paul that from now on, the CIA can deal with its own problems. If they ever involve him again, he will kill Paul as well. With those final words, Park walks away. And that is where the story of VIP comes to an end.